Welcome. Welcome back to Whispers of the Ancient East. Wherever you are right now, whatever kind of day you have had, whatever weight you may be carrying into this night, you can set it down here. You do not need to do anything. You do not need to force anything. You do not even need to stay awake. This is a space made for rest, for stillness, for the quiet that your mind has been searching for, perhaps without even realizing it. So before we begin, take a slow deep breath in through your nose and let it out gently through your mouth. And another. Feel your shoulders soften. Feel the back of your head sink a little deeper into your pillow. Let your hands rest where they want to rest. Let your jaw unclench. Let your eyes close if they have not already. Tonight, we are going on a journey together. But not the kind of journey that requires anything of you. There is no destination. There is no goal. There is nothing you need to remember in the morning. Tonight, we are going to travel back in time, across oceans and centuries, to a quiet land of mountains and rivers, of bamboo forests and stone bridges, of monks in robes, and sages in silence. We are going to ancient China. We are going to sit at the feet of two of the wisest minds that ever lived, a gentle old man named Lao Tzu, and a playful, dreaming philosopher named Chuang. And tonight, they have something very specific to teach us. Something that the modern world has nearly forgotten. Something that, if you allow it to soak into you, may quietly change the shape of your entire life. Tonight, we are going to learn the art of letting go. The Tao, the way, the flow. So close your eyes, dear listener. Let your breath find its own rhythm. Let the world fall away. We are about to begin. But before we travel back through the centuries, let us first travel inward. Notice the very top of your head, the crown, the place where, in the old Eastern traditions, the energy of the heavens was said to enter the body. Let it soften. Let the small muscles of your scalp release whatever they have been holding all day. Now your forehead, so often furrowed without our knowing. Let it smooth itself out, like the surface of a pond after the wind has gone still. The space between your eyebrows, soft now. Your eyelids, heavy, so pleasantly heavy. The small muscles around your eyes, the ones that have been working all day, looking at screens, reading words, watching the world. Thank them and let them rest. Your jaw. Notice your jaw. Most of us, without realizing it, clench our jaw all day long. We hold worry there. We hold frustration there. Let your teeth part just slightly. Let your tongue rest softly behind your lower teeth. Let your jaw hang loose, the way it does when you are deeply, dreamlessly asleep. Your neck, your throat, the base of your skull, all the places that hold the heavy weight of your head all day long. Let them release. Let your head sink just a little deeper into whatever is supporting it. Your shoulders. Oh, your shoulders. They have been carrying so much. Let them drop. Drop a little more. Drop again. You are not holding anything up right now. Nothing is balanced on top of them. You can let them go completely. Down your arms, your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, your hands, each one of your 10 fingers, soft, open, at rest, your chest. Let it rise and fall by itself without your help. Your lungs know how to breathe. They have been doing it without instructions since the day you were born. You can trust them tonight. Your stomach, your belly, let it be soft. So many of us hold tension here without realizing it, tightening it, sucking it in, bracing against the world. Let your belly be soft and round and unguarded, like the belly of a sleeping child. Your lower back, your hips, the deep, deep muscles that hold up your whole life. Let them release. Let your weight sink into the mattress, the cushion, whatever holds you. Your thighs, heavy. Your knees, heavy. Your calves, heavy. Your ankles, heavy. Your feet, each of your 10 toes, all of them heavy, all of them sinking. You are heavy now. You are quiet now. You are exactly where you need to be. And now we can begin.
Part 1. The Old Man at the Gate. It's an old Chinese legend. It is the kind of story that no one can fully prove, and no one can fully disprove. But the people of ancient China believed it, and the believing of it shaped the soul of an entire civilization. The story goes like this. Long ago, in a kingdom now forgotten, there lived a quiet old man. He worked as a keeper of records, a librarian, you might say, in the royal archives of the Zhou dynasty. He spent his days surrounded by ancient scrolls, by bamboo strips bound with silk, by the dust of forgotten dynasties and the wisdom of the dead. His name was Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu, which simply means Old Master. We do not know what his real name was. We do not know exactly when he was born, or where, or even if he was a single man at all. Some scholars believe Lao Tzu was a composite, many wise men were remembered as one. Others believe he was very real, an actual sage who lived around the 6th century before the Common Era. It does not matter. What matters is the story. In his long life, Lao Tzu watched the world. He watched kings rise and fall. He watched generals burn villages in pursuit of glory. He watched scholars argue endlessly about ceremonies and customs. He watched merchants chase fortunes that crumbled in their hands. He watched fathers grieve sons and sons forget fathers. And he realized something. He realized that all of this suffering, all of this striving, all of this exhausting human noise came from a single, deep mistake. People were fighting the natural way of things. They were trying to force the river to flow uphill. They were trying to make the seasons obey their schedules. They were trying to hold on to what could not be held. And the harder they gripped, the more they suffered. One day, Lao Tzu grew tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep can heal. A deeper kind. The kind of tired that comes from watching humanity, generation after generation, make the same mistake. He decided to leave. He climbed onto the back of a water buffalo, and he began to ride west. Toward the mountains. Toward the wilderness. Toward whatever lay beyond the borders of the civilized world. He intended to disappear. But at the western pass, the gate that marked the edge of the kingdom, there stood a guard. A man named Yinchi. Yinchi was no ordinary guard. He was an astrologer, a reader of omens. And for days, he had seen strange purple mists drifting in from the east, a sign in the old traditions that a great sage was approaching. So when Lao Tzu arrived on his water buffalo, ready to slip through the gate and vanish forever, Yinchi stopped him. "Master," he said, bowing low, "you cannot leave us." "Not yet. Not until you write down what you know. The world will need it." Lao Tzu sighed. He was tired. He wanted to go. But he saw the sincerity in the young guard's eyes. And so, reluctantly, he dismounted. He sat down at the gate. And in a single night, or so the legend says, he wrote down the deepest truths he had spent a lifetime gathering. 81 short chapters. 5,000 Chinese characters. Poetry more than philosophy. Whispered hints more than firm instructions. He called it the Tao Te Ching, or Tao Te Ching, as pronounced in some areas in China. The Book of the Way. When he finished, he handed it to Yinchi. He climbed back onto his water buffalo. He passed through the gate, and he was never seen again. But the book remained. It traveled across centuries. It crossed deserts and rivers. It was translated into hundreds of languages. Today, it is one of the most translated books in the entire history of human writing, second only, perhaps, to the Bible. And inside its pages, still resting there, patient as a stone in a riverbed, is the answer Lao Tzu left for us. The answer to the question of how to stop suffering. The answer is this: let go. But what does it mean, really, to let go? That is what we are going to explore tonight. The way the old masters would have taught it, not with arguments, not with lectures, but with stories, with images, with whispers. So drift a little deeper now. Let your body grow heavy. Let your breathing slow. The old master has more to tell us.
Part 2, The Way of Water. There is a chapter in the Tao Te Ching, chapter 8, that begins with a single line. The highest good is like water. Think of water for a moment. Water moves slowly around stones, around fallen leaves, around the roots of old trees. It does not argue with the stones. It does not demand that they move. It simply goes around. And yet, if you came back to that same stream in 1,000 years, you would find that the stones had changed, worn down, smoothed, hollowed out. The water, with all its softness, has carved the stones into new shapes. This is the great secret that Lao Tzu wanted us to understand. The softest thing in the world overcomes the hardest. The weakest thing in the world outlasts the strongest. Not by force, not by struggle, but by being what it truly is. There is another chapter, chapter 78, where Lao Tzu writes, nothing in the world is softer or more yielding than water. Yet for dissolving the hard and the strong, nothing can surpass it. Somewhere, deep down, we know that when we grip too tightly, we lose what we hold. We know that when we argue our hardest, we convince no one. We know that when we chase happiness with both hands, it slips through our fingers. We know. And yet, we keep doing it. The old masters had a name for the human habit of fighting the way of things. They called it resistance. The clenched jaw, the tightened fist, the mind that refuses to let an experience be what it is. We resist our circumstances. We resist other people. And every act of resistance creates a new layer of suffering, a new layer of exhaustion, on top of whatever the original problem was. But water does not resist. When water meets a rock, it simply curves. It finds the lower path. It moves around. It moves under, if it has to. It evaporates and falls again somewhere else. Water is patient. Water is humble, and that is why water is effortless. Master, I want to be powerful, said a young boy to his Taoist master one day. The master smiled. I see. And why is that? So that I can beat those who are stronger than me, replied the boy with enthusiasm. Okay, I'll show you the way to power. Follow me. He led the student to a small waterfall in the mountains. They stood beside it for a long time, watching. Tell me, the master finally asked, what do you see? I see water, said the student. What else? And rocks. Which is more powerful, the water or the rocks? Asked the master. The rocks, of course. They are hard, the boy replied. Look closer, told the master to the boy. Tell me the difference between the rocks in the water and the rocks outside the water. The student looked deep, and then he saw it. In and around the water, the rocks are smooth and round. Some of them had been completely hollowed out, like bowls. The rocks outside the water are jagged, rough, with sharp edges. The water, falling on them year after year, had reshaped them entirely. The water, said the master, is the softest thing here, and yet the most powerful. The student understood. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine that everything that happens to you tomorrow, every difficult conversation, every disappointment, every traffic jam, every unkind word, every moment of frustration is a rock in your stream. What would happen if you stopped trying to fight them? What would happen if you simply float around them? You don't deny their existence. Just move softly past them the way water does. You'd still get where you were going, but you'd arrive gracefully, effortlessly. This is the beginning of letting go. This is the first lesson the old master leaves at the gate. Be like water. In the centuries after Lao Tzu, this single lesson, water, would spread across the world. It would inspire poets and painters and warriors. It would become the heart of an entire martial art tradition. In the 20th century, a young man from Hong Kong named Bruce Lee would build his whole life's philosophy around this one teaching. Be like water, my friend, he would say. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless. He was quoting Lao Tzu. So, as you lie there now, as your body sinks a little deeper into the soft place beneath you, imagine yourself slowly turning into water. Your shoulders are surface ripples on a quiet pond. Your arms are not arms. They are gentle currents. Your chest, rising and falling, is the slow swell of the sea. You are not solid anymore. You are soft. You are flowing into deep sleep. Part 3, Wu Wei. The art of not forcing. In Chinese, Wu means not, and Wei means doing. Wu Wei? Nonsense, that will be your first thought. After all, we live in a world crafted by the Newtons and the Einsteins. Although we don't consciously notice, their contributions are buried deep in our social psychology. What does the first law of motion say? An object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an external force. So, we learn from a very young age, if we want things our way, we have to force things to conform. Not to belittle Newton. It is an excellent scientific theory, but a poor life philosophy. Tao Te Ching teaches a completely different path. When people first hear this idea, they often laugh, or shake their heads, or think it sounds lazy. Not doing? Without acting? But how can anything get done? They miss the point. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. It means acting without forcing, and since we have already talked about the way of water, I believe you have already begun to understand. It means moving without struggle. Allow the lay of the land to guide you through without grasping, without strain, without the trying hard. Have you ever seen people practice Tai Chi? If you haven't, you must. You don't have to be a practitioner, just watch. The movements are the perfect embodiment of Wu Wei. I want you to think about something. Can you think of a moment in your life when something turned out to be the best experience when you were not even trying? The brilliant idea that came to you in the shower when you had stopped thinking. The job you found almost by accident after months of forcing applications that went nowhere. Or the love that walked into your life when you had finally given up on searching for it. You'd probably say that's pure luck. Lao Tzu would say that is Wu Wei. When you stop pushing, when you stop demanding, when you stop trying to bend the universe to your will, the universe gives you exactly what you needed. Often, something better. In the kitchen of a great lord, Wu Wei, there worked a butcher. His name was Ting. Ting's job was to prepare oxen for the royal kitchen. It was hard, physical work. Most butchers in those days ruined a knife within a month. The bones of an ox would dull the finest blade. The best butchers could make a knife last a year. But Ting had been using the same knife for 19 years. And his blade was still as sharp as the day it was forged. One day, Lord Wu Wei was walking past the kitchen when he heard someone humming a song. Curious, he entered the kitchen to see who could be in such a good mood inside a hot kitchen. Ting was dancing. His shoulders moved in rhythm. His knees bent and straightened in funny ways. The knife in his hand seemed to glide through the meat without ever striking any bone, without ever catching a tendon. Each cut made a small, musical sound, like the chime of a temple bell. Lord Wu Wei watched in amazement. When Ting finished, the entire ox lay perfectly disassembled. "This is incredible," said the Lord. "How did you reach such skill?" Ting laid down his blade and said, "My Lord, I just followed the way." When I first began cutting up oxen, the butcher continued, all I could see was the ox. The whole, solid ox. I hacked. I sweated. I broke many blades. After a few years, I no longer saw the ox. I saw only its parts. I knew where the joints were. I knew where the muscles met. I could find my way through. And now, I no longer see with my eyes. My senses stop, and something deeper takes over. My knife slips into the spaces between things. It finds the openings that are already there. And that is why, after 19 years, my blade is still new. Lord, when we sat in silence for a long moment, then he said with a smile, I came here to watch how you work. But you have shown me how to live. This is Wu Wei. This is letting go, going with the flow, and moving through the world effortlessly. It does not mean Ting did nothing, but the way he worked had changed. He had stopped fighting the ox. He had stopped trying to make his knife cut. Many athletes confess to this. They are dancing around the ball and playing really well. To the outsiders, they look like they are trying really hard, but the athletes say, no, I was not trying hard. I was just in the zone. How much of your life, right now, are you forcing? How many oxen are you trying to hack through when you could be slipping between the joints? How many problems are you trying to solve by sheer effort when the real answer is to soften, to slow down, to find the space that is already there, to be in the zone? Wu Wei is not laziness. It is the highest form of skill. It is, in many ways, the greatest art of all arts. To quote directly from Lao Tzu himself, the Tao never acts, yet nothing is left undone.
Part 4, The Butterfly Dream. Our next story is a short one but of great significance. It has something to do with our identities or who we think we are. Who am I is probably one of the most profound questions, along with where do we come from? While the Dao De Jing does not discuss the origin of the universe, it does talk a lot about who we are. This story comes from Chuang, the same sage who told us about Butcher Ting. Chuang Tzu was a strange man known in his village to be extremely smart, and yet he refused all positions of power. When kings sent messengers to offer him high offices, he refused and turned them away. He lived a very simple life. He told stories. Villagers who worked hard all day in the field would gather in his front yard in the evening for some entertainment and relief. His stories rejuvenated them, melted away their stress. He had a great understanding of the Tao, and so he would laugh at things others took seriously. Most of his stories were spoken while few were recorded. This is one of the recorded ones. Chuang Tzu had a dream. He dreamt that he was a butterfly. He had no memory of being Chuang Tzu. He was, completely and entirely, a butterfly fluttering through a field of flowers, soft yellow wings rising and falling in the warm afternoon air. He drank from the deep wells of the blossoms. He felt the breeze beneath his wings. He went wherever he pleased. He was free. He was happy. He was simply a butterfly. And then he woke up. He sat up in his bed. He rubbed his eyes. He looked at his hands. He looked at his arms. He felt his old human body with all its weight. He was Chuang Tzu again. But then he asked himself a question. A simple, gentle, world-shaking question. Am I Chuang Tzu, who dreamed of being a butterfly? Or am I a butterfly, dreaming that I am Chuang Tzu? What did Chuang Tzu mean by this story? Some have read it as a piece of philosophy, a question about the nature of reality, about how we can tell dream from waking, illusion from truth. Others have read it as a gentle reminder that we never really know what is real and what is not, and maybe that is okay. But there is another reading, a deeper reading, the reading that, I think, the old masters wanted us to find. Chuang Tzu was telling us something about identity, about the self, about all the things you think you are. When the butterfly was a butterfly, it was completely a butterfly. There was no Chuang Tzu inside. There was no anxiety. There was no worry about being a good butterfly or a successful butterfly. The butterfly was simply itself. And when Chuang Tzu became Chuang Tzu again, he was completely Chuang Tzu. The butterfly just let go. He did not need to hold so tightly to the idea of being Chuang Tzu. He did not need to defend his identity. He did not need to protect himself. He did not need to grip so fiercely to the story of who he was. Because the self is not as solid as we think. How much of your suffering comes from holding on to who you think you are? The role you have played for so long. The image you have built up. The story you keep telling yourself about your strengths and your weaknesses, about your past, about your worth. The expectations you carry, because that is who you are. The grudges you cannot release, because they happen to you. What if you held it all a little more softly? What if you were less solid and more like the butterfly? The Taoist masters had a wonderful phrase for this. They called it the transformation of things. Everything in the universe, they taught, is constantly transforming. The water in the cloud becomes rain. The rain becomes river. The river becomes ocean. The ocean becomes cloud again. The seed becomes tree. The tree becomes leaf. The leaf becomes soil. The soil becomes seed. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is permanent. And we too are part of that transformation. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago. You will not be the same person 10 years from now. Even the cells of your body are changing, dying, being replaced every single day. The you of this morning is not exactly the you of this evening. You are not a solid thing. You are a flow. This is a strange comfort, perhaps. But it is a comfort. If you are not a thing, if you are a flow, then nothing that happens to you can truly damage the real you. Because there is no fixed, solid, unchanging you to damage. There is only the river moving through time. There is only the dream dreaming itself. There is only the butterfly becoming the sage, becoming the butterfly again. So when something hurts you tomorrow, when someone says a cruel word, when a hope is disappointed, when a plan goes wrong, remember the butterfly. Remember that the you who is hurt is only a passing form, a temporary shape, a dream within a dream. The deeper you, the Tao within you, cannot be touched by any of it.
Part 5, The Useless Tree. Here's another Chuang Tzu story. This one is about a tree. There once stood, in the village of Qi, an enormous tree. It was a shoot tree, what we might today call a kind of oak. Its trunk was so wide that 100 people could not have linked arms around it. Its branches reached so high that they could shelter 1,000 chariots. Its leaves were so dense that even at noon, the shade beneath it was cool and dark. People came from miles around just to see it. One day, a famous carpenter named Xu was traveling through Qi with his apprentice. They walked past the great tree, and the apprentice stopped, his eyes wide. "Master," he gasped, "look at this tree. In all my years, I have never seen such a magnificent piece of wood. Surely you will stop here and harvest it? The lumber alone would build a palace." But the master carpenter did not even slow his pace. He walked right past the tree without a second glance. The apprentice ran after him, confused. "Master," he said, "did you not see the tree? The greatest tree in the whole region. How could you walk past it?" The carpenter sighed. "My boy," he said, "that tree is useless. Useless. If you carved it into a boat, the boat would sink. If you carved it into a coffin, the coffin would rot. If you carved it into a pillar, the worms would devour it. The wood is too soft, too crooked, too full of knots. There is nothing in it that any craftsman could use." He paused. He looked back at the tree, just for a moment. "And that," he said quietly, "is exactly why it has lived so long." The apprentice did not understand. But that night, in a dream, the tree came to the carpenter. "Carpenter," said the tree, "why do you compare me to your useful trees? The cherry, the pear, the apple, they all bear sweet fruit, and so they are stripped bare every season. Their branches are broken. Their lives are short. They are useful, and their usefulness destroys them. I have spent my whole long life learning to be useless. It is my uselessness that has kept me alive. Do not pity me, carpenter. Pity them." The carpenter woke from the dream and never forgot it. This is one of those Taoist stories that the modern world has trouble with. We are taught, from the moment we can understand language, that we must be useful. That our worth comes from what we produce. That if we are not constantly working, constantly achieving, constantly useful, then we are wasting our lives. But the old masters saw something different. They saw that the trees that bear the most fruit are stripped bare. They saw that the candles that burn brightest melt fastest. They saw that the people who try hardest to be useful often become tools in someone else's hands. They saw that there is a kind of freedom, a kind of peace, that only comes when you give up on being useful at all. When you accept that you are simply yourself. When you stop performing your worth for the world. Tonight, let yourself be useless. You do not have to produce anything. You do not have to optimize anything. You do not have to be a better version of yourself by tomorrow morning. You are not a machine. You are not a tool. You are a living, breathing person, lying in the dark, listening to an old story from a faraway land. That is enough. In fact, it is more than enough. It may be the most important thing you have done all day. The old tree in the village of Qi stood for 1,000 years. It outlasted the carpenter. It outlasted the apprentice. It outlasted the village itself. Because it had nothing to prove. Because it was not chasing anything. Because it had let go of the entire idea of being useful, and so it was free to simply be. There is a Taoist phrase for this. They call it the use of uselessness. It is one of the strangest, gentlest, most liberating ideas in all of philosophy. The use of uselessness. The deep, secret value of being, for a little while, nothing in particular. So rest now, dear listener. You do not need to be useful tonight. You do not need to be anything tonight. You can be the old tree with the wind moving softly through your highest branches. You can be still. You can be quiet. You can be just here.
The empty boat. Here's another one from Chuang Tzu. It's short, but practical and useful. Imagine, for a moment, that you are crossing a wide, slow river in a small boat. The morning mist is rising off the water. The sun is just beginning to warm the air. You are rowing peacefully, lost in your own thoughts. And then, out of the mist, another boat appears. It is coming straight at you. You shout. You wave your arms. You try to steer aside. But the other boat keeps coming, careless, reckless, and crashes into the side of your own boat. Now, Chuang Tzu asks us, how would you feel? You would be angry. Wouldn't you? You would shout at the other person. You would curse their carelessness. You would feel your blood rise, your heart pound, your jaw clench. You might still be thinking about it hours later. That idiot. That fool. How dare they? But now, Chuang Tzu says, imagine the same scene with one small difference. The mist rises. The sun warms the air. You are rowing peacefully. And out of the mist, another boat appears. It is coming straight at you. You shout. You wave. You try to steer aside. The boat crashes into yours. You look up, angry, ready to curse the rower. And the boat is empty. There is no one in it. Just an old, drifting boat, untied from its mooring somewhere upstream, carried by the current to bump into you. Now, Chuang Tzu asks, how do you feel? The damage to your boat is exactly the same. The inconvenience is exactly the same. The interruption to your morning is exactly the same. There is no one to be angry at. So you simply push the empty boat away, consider it bad luck, and continue on your way. Can you learn to see every boat as empty? The driver who cut you off in traffic, they had a whole life of pain behind them that you will never know. They were, in a sense, an empty boat drifting in their own current. The friend who said something cruel, they were carrying something heavy that day. Something you did not see. An empty boat on its own troubled river. The parent who could not love you the way you needed, they had no model. They were given no map. An empty boat, drifting through their own life, bumping into you. This is not about excusing harm. This is not about pretending that what was done was right. This is about freeing yourself from the heavy weight of being angry at empty boats. How many empty boats are you carrying inside you right now? How many old collisions are you still angry about, years later, while the boats themselves drift on, indifferent, gone? Chuang Tzu would say, push the empty boat away. Let it drift on. The river is long, and the morning is beautiful, and you have so much more rowing to do.
The happiness of fishes. Chuang Tzu, the playful sage, was walking one day along the bank of a small river. With him was his friend, a famous logician named Hui Tzu. Hui Tzu was clever. He loved arguments. He loved proving things. He loved finding the cracks in every statement and pulling them apart. In some ways, he was the opposite of Chuang Tzu. But they were friends. Real friends. The kind of friends who can disagree about everything and still walk together along a river. As they walked, Chuang Tzu looked down into the clear water and watched the fish swimming below. "Look," he said softly. "See how the fish dart back and forth, so free, so easy. That is the happiness of fishes." Hui Tzu, ever the logician, frowned. "You are not a fish," he said. "How can you possibly know what makes a fish happy?" Chuang Tzu smiled. "You are not me," he replied. "How can you know that I do not know what makes a fish happy?" Hui Tzu, sensing he was being teased, pressed on. "If I, not being you, cannot know what you know, then you, not being a fish, surely cannot know what a fish knows. The argument is complete. I have won." But Chuang Tzu, still smiling, said something strange and wonderful. "Let us go back to your original question. You asked me how I know what makes the fish happy. In asking that, you already assumed that I knew. You only wondered how. And I will tell you. I know it from standing here beside this river. The story ends there." Hui Tzu has no reply. What is Chuang Tzu trying to tell us with this strange little exchange? He is telling us that the mind is not the only way of knowing. The logician, Hui Tzu, wanted everything to be proved. He wanted definitions. He wanted boundaries. He wanted to know exactly how one person could know what another being felt. But the sage, Chuang Tzu, was offering a different kind of knowing. A quieter kind. The kind that comes from simply being present. From standing beside a river and watching. From letting your own boundaries soften just for a moment so that the joy of the fish can become, somehow, your joy too. Have you ever walked into a room where you felt that the air was so heavy that you could cut with a knife? You could feel that the people in the room were having an argument or a fight. You had no prior knowledge of that before entering the room, but you could somehow feel it. Trust that feeling. Taoism teaches the world is not separate from you. You are not a small, solid, isolated thing, standing apart from everything else, trying to figure it all out from the outside. You are part of it. You are in the river. You are in the wind. You are in the morning light. You are in the fish, somehow, even as you stand on the bank and watch them. And when you let yourself feel that, really feel it, deep in your bones, you stop being lonely. So many of us, in this modern world, feel a kind of cosmic loneliness that we cannot quite name. A sense of being separate, of being cut off, of being a small, anxious self surrounded by an indifferent universe. The Taoists would have wept for us. They would have said, no, no, no. You were never separate. You were never alone. You are part of the way. You always have been. You only forgot. Tonight, perhaps, you can begin to remember. The fish in the river is happy. Chuang knew it. He felt it, standing on the bank. And somewhere, right now, in some small stream, in some quiet pond, in some endless ocean, fish are still swimming. Still happy. Still free. The river goes on. The way goes on. And you, heavy, drifting, soft, you are part of it all.
Part 6. Letting go of control. We have spoken of water. We have spoken of effortless action. We have spoken of the butterfly. We have spoken of the useless tree. But underneath all of these stories, woven through every one of them, there is a single, deeper teaching. The teaching the old master and Chuang were really trying to give us. It is this: you are not in control. I know how it feels to hear that. The modern mind rebels against it. The modern mind has been trained since childhood to believe that control is the answer. That if we could just plan well enough, work hard enough, optimize precisely enough, then everything would finally fall into place. Then we would finally be safe. Then we would finally be happy. So we plan, and we work, and we optimize, and we tighten our grip on every detail of our lives. And we still do not feel safe. We still do not feel happy. Why? Because we never had control in the first place. The whole game was built on a lie. The Taoists understood this with a clarity that almost takes the breath away. They watched. They observed. They saw that the farmer cannot control the weather. He can plant his seeds well. He can water and tend. He can build his fences against the wild animals. But in the end, whether the rain comes, whether the frost comes, whether the locusts come, that is not up to him. They saw that the parent cannot control the child. You can love them. You can teach them. You can give them everything you have. But who they become, that is not up to you. They saw that the lover cannot control the beloved. The mind cannot control the body. The body cannot control the years. We are surrounded by things we do not control. And yet, we keep trying. We keep clenching our fists around the wind. There is a small line tucked into the Tao Te Ching that has always stopped me when I read it. It says, simply, trying to control the world is like trying to carve a piece of jade with a hatchet. You will only ruin the jade, and you will exhaust yourself. This does not mean you should give up. It does not mean you should stop caring, stop trying, stop loving. The Taoists were not nihilists. They were not telling us that nothing matters. They were telling us something gentler, something more freeing. They were telling us to care without clinging, to plant the seed, water it, tend it, and then to release it. To let the seed do what seeds do. To love the people in your life with your whole heart, and then to let them be who they are. To stop trying to mold them into who you wish they would become. To work hard on the things you can affect, and then to release the outcome. To do your part, and let the universe do its part. This is letting go. This is the deepest meaning of Wu Wei. This is, perhaps, the secret of a peaceful life. Good luck, bad luck, who can say? There is an old Taoist parable, a very famous one. A farmer lived in a small village in the north of China. He had one horse, a fine, strong horse, and a son who was just becoming a young man. One day, the horse ran away. The neighbors came by to offer their sympathy. "Oh, what terrible luck," they said. "How awful for you." The farmer just shrugged. Good luck? Bad luck? Who can say? A few days later, the horse came back, and it brought with it 7 wild horses from the mountains. Now the farmer had 8 horses. The neighbors came by, amazed. "Oh, what wonderful luck," they said. "How blessed you are." The farmer just shrugged. Good luck? Bad luck? Who can say? The next week, the son tried to break him one of the wild horses. He was thrown off and broke his leg. The neighbors came by, full of pity. "Oh, what terrible luck," they said. "How awful for the boy." The farmer just shrugged. Good luck? Bad luck? Who can say? A month later, the army came through the village. There was a war in the south, and they were drafting every young man they could find. But the farmer's son could not go. His leg was broken. So he stayed home. Many of the other young men of the village were killed in the war. The neighbors came by, weeping with relief. "Oh, what wonderful luck," they said. The farmer just shrugged. Good luck? Bad luck? Who can say? This is the whole of it, dear listener. This is the secret. The farmer was not pretending to be detached. He was not faking serenity. He genuinely did not know whether each event was good or bad, and he had lived long enough to understand that he could not know. That what looked like a disaster today could be a blessing tomorrow. That what looked like a blessing today could lead to disaster the day after. So he stopped judging. He stopped grasping. He stopped clinging to the story of good luck and bad luck. He simply watched and lived and trusted that the Tao knew what it was doing. This is so hard for us. The mind wants to know. The mind wants to be sure. The mind wants to label every event the moment it happens. This is bad. This is good. This should not have happened. This is unfair. This is wonderful. And every label is another grip, another clench, another stone we add to the bag we carry on our back. What if you could put the bag down? Just for tonight. Just for these few quiet hours. Whatever happened today, whatever felt unfair, or disappointing, or scary, or wrong, what if, tonight, you simply did not know what to call it yet? What if it was just an event? A small wave on the great ocean of your life? Something whose meaning you could not yet see? Good luck? Bad luck? Who can say? The farmer slept well at night. Maybe you can sleep well too.
Part 7, The Teaching of the Seasons. The old Taoist sages did not learn their wisdom from books. They learned it from the world. They sat on mountainsides for years. They watched the clouds drift. They watched the rain come and go. They watched the cranes fly south in autumn and return in spring. They watched the snow melt into the river, and the river feed the rice fields, and the rice grow tall in the summer sun. And they noticed something so simple that most of us never stop to see it. The world lets go all the time. Every autumn, the trees let go of their leaves. Every single one. Millions of leaves falling silently to the ground with no grief, no resistance, no clinging. The tree does not say, "But I worked so hard to grow these leaves. I cannot bear to lose them. I will hold on. I will grip. I will refuse." No. The tree releases. And in releasing, the tree survives. It saves its energy. It prepares for winter. It trusts that spring will come again, and with spring, new leaves. Imagine if the tree refused to let go. Imagine if the tree clung with all its strength to every leaf, gripping each one, terrified of losing it. The leaves would die anyway. They cannot last forever. But the tree would exhaust itself trying to hold them. The cold would come. The snow would settle on the unreleased leaves, heavy and wet. Branches would crack. The whole tree might break under the weight of what it refused to let go. This is how so many of us live, clinging to leaves that are already dying, refusing the autumn that has already come, cracking under the weight of what we will not release. The old masters knew this. They watched the trees and they understood. There is a season for everything. A season to grow. a season to bloom, a season to release, a season to rest. The mistake is not in losing. The mistake is in resisting the loss. In the old Chinese tradition, the year had not 4 seasons, but 5. Spring, summer, late summer, autumn, and winter. Each one had its own element. Each one had its own teaching. Autumn, the season of letting go, was associated with the lungs and the large intestine, the organs of release, the organs that take in and let go. In the ancient view, autumn was not a sad season. It was a sacred season, the season of clarity, the season of preparing, the season when the world showed us, in golden leaves and falling fruit, how to surrender gracefully. Have you ever stood beneath a tree in autumn and watched the leaves fall? There is a strange kind of peace in it. A slow, golden falling. Each leaf finding its own path. Each leaf spinning, turning, drifting down. The tree does not weep. The leaf does not struggle. They both let go. Tonight, dear listener, can you be the tree? Can you let some part of yourself release, the way a tree releases in October? There is something you have been carrying for too long. You know what it is. You do not need to name it out loud. You do not even need to think about it clearly. The deep part of you already knows. A grudge, a regret, a version of yourself you were supposed to become but didn't. A relationship you have been trying to revive. A future you were supposed to have. A past you cannot stop replaying. It has held on long enough. You have held on long enough. Now, slowly, let it begin to fall. Like a leaf. Like an autumn leaf. Slowly turning, slowly drifting, slowly leaving you. You do not have to throw it away violently. You do not have to make a decision. You do not have to do anything at all. You only have to stop holding so tightly. The leaf knows how to fall. It just needs you to open your hand. And then the tree stands quiet in the cold air, ready for winter. And winter is not death. Winter is rest. Winter is the long, dark, patient sleep before the next great unfolding. This is what we are doing tonight, you and I. We are entering winter. Not the winter of a year, the winter of a single night. A small, sweet, restorative winter. A few hours of letting everything fall and rest and gather strength. And in the morning, gently, your spring will begin again. But that is for the morning to bring. For now, dear listener, for now, let it all fall.
Part 8. The Empty Vessel. There is one more image I want to leave with you tonight, before we close. It is one of the most beautiful in all of the Tao Te Ching, and it goes to the very heart of letting go. Lao Tzu writes, 30 spokes share one hub. It is the emptiness at the center that makes the wheel useful. We shape clay into a pot. It is the emptiness inside that makes the pot useful. We cut doors and windows into a house. It is the emptiness within that makes the house useful. Therefore, what is, gives shape. But what is not, is what serves. Read those words again, slowly, in your own mind. What is, gives shape. But what is not, is what serves. The old master is asking us to see something we have never quite looked at before. Look at a cup. A simple cup on a table. The walls of the cup, the porcelain, the glass, the ceramic, give the cup its shape. Without those walls, there would be no cup. But you cannot drink from the walls. You drink from the emptiness. From the hollow space inside. From the part of the cup that isn't there. It is the empty space that makes the cup useful. The same is true of the wheel. Without the empty hole at the center, the axle could not turn, and the wheel would be just a heavy disc, going nowhere. The same is true of the room you are in. Without the empty space inside the walls, you would have no room to live in, just a solid block of bricks. The same is true of music. It is the silence between the notes that makes music sound like music. If there were no silence, if every instrument played every note at every moment, there would be no song. Just noise. The Tao teaches that emptiness is not weakness. Emptiness is what makes everything else possible. Now think gently about your own mind. Most of us spend our whole lives trying to fill our minds. We fill them with worries, with plans, with opinions, with grudges, with dreams, with memories, with endless mental chatter, day and night, until there is no space left at all. And then we wonder why we cannot rest. You cannot rest in a mind that is full. There is no space for rest. You cannot find peace in a mind that is full. There is no room for peace. This is the deepest practice of letting go. Not letting go of one thing. Not letting go of one specific worry, or one specific person, or one specific regret. But letting go of the fullness itself. Emptying the cup. The Taoists had a word for this. They called it Su, emptiness. They considered it not a sad thing, not a hollow thing, but the most sacred state a human mind could enter. The empty mind. The mind that has set down all of its arguments, all of its certainties, all of its endless plans and worries. The mind that is, finally, open. A famous teacher, much later, in the Zen tradition that grew out of Taoism, once met a scholar who came to him asking about enlightenment. The teacher invited the scholar to sit and began to pour him a cup of tea. The scholar talked, and talked, and talked, about what he had read, about what he believed, about all the ways the teacher could deepen his understanding. The teacher kept pouring. The tea reached the top of the cup. The teacher kept pouring. The tea spilled over the edge, onto the saucer, onto the table. The scholar finally stopped talking. Master, the cup is overflowing. No more will go in. The teacher set down the kettle. Like this cup, he said gently, you are full of your own opinions and ideas. How can I teach you anything until you first empty your cup? This is what we're doing right now. You and me. Tonight. You came to me, to this voice, to this story, to this quiet little corner of the world, with a cup that was full. Full of the day. Full of the week. Full of everything you have been carrying. And slowly, over these past minutes, I have been helping you empty it. Pouring it out. A little at a time. There is more space inside you now than there was when we began. Did you know this? This is the gift the old master left for us. This is what he was trying to give to the guard at the gate, and through him, to all of us, across all the centuries. He was saying, empty your cup. Let it be empty. Trust the emptiness. The emptiness is where life flows in.
Part 9, The Closing Whisper. We are coming now to the end of our little journey. But before we go, before I leave you to whatever dreams may come, I want to gather up what we have shared tonight. We began at the western gate of an old kingdom, where an old man on a water buffalo wrote down everything he had learned in a lifetime of watching. We learned to be like water, soft, yielding, patient, flowing around the rocks instead of crashing against them. We learned about Wu Wei, the art of not forcing, the way of Butcher Ting, slipping his knife between the joints, never striking bone, never wasting effort. We met Chuang dreaming he was a butterfly. We learned to hold our identity gently, to remember that we are not solid things, but flowing transformations. We sat in the shade of the great old useless tree, and learned that there is freedom in not being useful all the time. We met the old farmer with his horse, and learned that we cannot know what is fortune and what is misfortune. That every event is part of a way too large for us to see. And we sat with the empty cup, the empty room, the empty mind. We learned that emptiness is not the enemy of fullness, it is the womb of it. If you have absorbed even one of these images tonight, you have absorbed enough. You do not need to remember everything. In fact, it would be better if you didn't. Just let the images settle into the deep places of your mind, like a rock sinking slowly to the bottom of a pond. The water, the butterfly, the tree, the empty cup. They will be there in the morning. They will be there tomorrow. They will be there the next time you feel yourself gripping too tightly, and they will whisper to you, quietly, let go. Let go. Be like water. The old master ended his book with a small, simple verse. After 81 chapters of profound wisdom, this is how he chose to close. He wrote, "True words are not pretty. Pretty words are not true. The wise do not argue. Those who argue are not wise. The sage does not accumulate. The more she gives to others, the more she has. The more she shares with others, the more she gains. The way of heaven is to benefit and not to harm. The way of the sage is to act and not to compete. and then the book ends. No grand finale. No dramatic conclusion. Just a quiet stop. Like the last drop of water falling from a leaf into a still pond. That is how I want to leave you tonight, dear listener. Quietly. Without ceremony. Just softening into sleep. You do not need to carry anything from this video into tomorrow. You do not need to become a Taoist. You do not need to memorize anything. You do not need to change your life in any dramatic way like many self-help and motivational teachers lecture. All you need to do right now, in this moment, is rest. Let your breath be slow. Let your body be heavy. Let your mind be empty. You are exactly where you are meant to be. The world will go on without you for a few hours. The river will keep flowing. The trees will keep growing. The stars will keep turning slowly in their ancient circles. You can let go. You can sleep. You can trust. If you find yourself awake in the middle of the night, as sometimes happens, do not fight it. Remember Wu Wei The Art. Slip into the spaces. Do not force yourself back to sleep. Let sleep come to you the way water finds the low places. If your mind starts to chatter, as it sometimes will, remember the butterfly. Hold yourself gently. Do not grip your thoughts. Let them flutter past like soft yellow wings on an afternoon breeze. If tomorrow brings difficulty, as some tomorrows do, remember the farmer. Good luck? Bad luck? Who can say? Withhold your judgment. Wait. Watch. Trust. And if, in some quiet moment of your life, you find yourself overwhelmed by everything you are trying to control, by everything you are trying to be, by everything you are trying to hold on to, remember the empty cup. Pour it out. Let it be empty. Trust that life will fill it again, in its own time, with exactly what you need. This is the Tao of letting go. It is not a doctrine. It is not a religion. It is not even really a philosophy. It is simply a way of being, a way of breathing, a way of moving through the world. And it has been waiting for you, gently, for 2,500 years. It will be waiting still, long after you and I have become dust, long after this voice has faded, long after the last star has gone out. Because the Tao is older than us. The Tao is older than time. We do not have to invent it. We only have to remember it. So close your eyes now, dear listener. Let this voice grow distant. Let the music grow distant. There's only you, the night, and the sound of rain. Sleep deeply. Wake joyfully. The whispers of the ancient East will be here, waiting for you, whenever you return.